Hello and welcome to another pattern recognition video. So today I have some random puzzles for you to solve. So it's more like an actual game where you don't know what the pattern is. But remember, regular chess tactics study can definitely help you improve your chess. And so let's begin here. We can solve the puzzles together and just pause the video at any time if you need more time to think. So in this position, white has just moved the queen here to a5. And so with black to move, we want to figure out what the best move is, of course. And a good way to go is to look for checks, captures, and threats in that order. And in your regular chess games as well. So on your move, as long as you're not in check, see what checks you have against the opponent first because they're most forcing. So this queen could maybe go here to d1 with a check, but then you have to make sure you have a good follow-up. So it does appear that we have a good follow-up. Hopefully you're able to figure this out. Pause the video if you need more time. If not, here we go. So we're going to bring that queen to d1 with check, forcing the king into the A file here, into the corner, or even here to a2. But then, well, the king can't go into the corner, of course, so the king will be forced to a2. And then we can drop the queen back to b3 here, delivering a check, forcing the king back up to the first rank here, and then we can deliver a mate on b2. So when you're solving puzzles, try to do the entire puzzle in your head. That'll help with your tactical skills, your calculation skills. Now, when you're trying to recognize patterns, you want easier problems. So here we go. We have check, we drop back and deliver a check again, and as the king retreats, we're able to deliver mate here. So, a simple pattern of rook and queen working together, creating a battery, and these problems, they're rated 500 to 1500. This one was 1220. So hopefully you're able to get that one, and let's move on to the next one. I'll try and do 10 problems here, at least more, depending how fast they go. So here a bishop has just captured our rook on a1. We need to do something here, and hopefully you found the best move here, especially if you look for checks first. So what do you think is best? The bishop is attacking, but then the rook is covering that pawn. We have a better move. Hopefully you found the queen move here. All right, so queen capturing the pawn on h7 here delivers the mate, backed up by the knight. All right, a mate in one there, and that was rated 540. Good for beginners. This is a great pattern, for all level of players. You need to be able to work with knight and queen together. All right, on to the next problem. We just had a capture on f2. There is a mate threat here, mate in one. Once again, rook and queen working together. So we need to act immediately here. And if you remember the first problem, you should be able to solve this one. All right, look for those checks first, and hopefully you'll find, the queen checks. One of them works and one doesn't. So we don't want to capture and sacrifice because then we don't have a good follow-up. The pawn will just knock off our queen here. But we have another queen check, so hopefully you found this one. Queen checks on the back rank. King is forced to move forward, or the bishop can block first, and then we capture, and it'll be the same sort of thing where If the king runs, then we'll drop back to here with check and then deliver the mate once again on g7. If the bishop blocks, then we'll just capture the bishop and then mate on g7. So calculate that out in your head. Pause if you need more time. If not, here we go. Check. And the bishop did not block. So this is similar to the first problem that we did. We deliver the mate. So once again, the pattern of the rook and queen battery here working together. All right, on to the next one. Okay, not much going on here as we only have a king versus king and pawn. So make sure I'm looking at this correctly. Yes, it looks like we can just promote our pawn. I would imagine that's the best move. Promote the pawn, and then we'll use the extra queen to win. All right. I don't see anything better. I don't think there's any kind of stalemate trap or anything, so here we go. Oh, okay, I see what's going on. I'm looking at it in the wrong direction. The pawn has to go up the board. Okay, well, in that case, this makes it more of a puzzle. What should you do if you're trying to get your pawn up here to promote on h1? Well, you want to grab the opposition. And for the beginners out there that aren't familiar with that, the opposition is where you place one square in between the kings, either directly in front of each other or side by side like it will be in this problem, or diagonally. So here's what we want to do. Move the king up here to g6 and we grab the opposition. If the king tries to run up the board, then we go up the board and we just keep the white king cut off until we move up the board and escort our pawn up. So here we go. All right, now we have to be careful at this point, because if we go here and the king starts coming back down, we have to make sure that he's not able to come down here, move over towards the pawn and capture that pawn. But we should be good. So we go here, and now if the king goes here, we can move up. If the king goes here, well, then we move to here. And if the opponent's king tries to target that pawn, the pawn will be able to move forward and be protected by the king, and the king can just escort the pawn to promotion. All right, on to the next problem here. Okay, bishop has moved forward, attacking our queen, and the queens are lined up on one another. So what are we able to do here? Well, look for checks, captures, and threats in that order. The only checks we have are bishop here, and the bishop can be captured. Queen here, and the queen can be captured. So those don't work. Knight moving here, and the knight could be captured by pawn or rook. So that doesn't seem to do much. Actually, no. The pawn would have to capture because the rook is defending the queen here. So does that do anything? If we capture and the pawn captures, it opens up the king side, but we don't have a good follow-up after that. So, and our queen is still under attack. So now we want to look at captures. We can look to see if there's anything that we can capture, any unprotected pieces. And if you look at that, you'll notice that we have a rook here unprotected. And that's very important when you're looking for tactics, is to look for pieces that are unprotected. Now, our queen is under attack, so we may have to deal with that first. So that should give you a hint on what to play here. All right, pause if you need more time. If not, here we go. We're going to capture the queen first, and the rook will recapture. And then this rook here on c5 can be picked off by the knight. So here we go. Capture, and we grab a knight here. Or excuse me, we grab a rook with our knight. All right, hopefully you found that one. Let's try to do the next 5 problems here. Okay, we had a check on the king, and that's blocked by the rook here. But if you notice this great pattern of knight and queen piling up on the rook, that should give you a hint as to how to finish this king off, finish off the enemy king. All right. Well, look at checks first. So, obviously, if we capture here, the king will be in check, and we'll have to move into the corner. And then we have to be careful here. If we just try to check and mate on f8, the bishop could capture our queen. So first, we'll have to go here to e8, and then once the bishop blocks, then we can capture the bishop. So try and figure that out in your head. Hopefully you can calculate that out. It might be a little difficult for beginners, but if not, if you're ready, here we go. All right, capture with check. Now, like I said, we don't want to go to f8 where the bishop can capture, so we go here, delivering a back rank check and mate. So always be on the lookout for back rank mate threats against your own king or your opponent's king. All right, next problem. We have, let's see, a knight blocking this path of bishop and queen, but the rook is covering that, so that's not really a threat. But the knight is also blocking maybe some attacks here on the 7th rank. But because of the checks, it looks like we can get in the win. All right, see if you can figure this one out. Remember, look for those checks, and that should tell you what to do. Now, of course, the queen can check on multiple squares here, but which one is best? All right, here we go. We're going to check. So check, the king will be forced to run to here because the pawn is cutting that square off. So then we're going to capture the knight and deliver check again because the bishop is also protecting the e7 square where that knight is, so that'll protect our queen. The king will have to run even further, and then we can deliver a mate on f7. So check, check, and mate. All right, I hope you did well on that one. Let's try and do at least 3 more here. So next problem. We just had a capture here on b7. Okay, what can we do next? All right, a great pattern here. First thing you want to notice is that there's a rook battery here covering this open C file. So maybe you can use that to your advantage. And then you want to look for checks. Now, the rook could check here, but it would be captured. So maybe we have a better check. We can't go here, or the rook can capture, or the king. So what about the knight? All right, hopefully you can figure it out now with this knight move. Okay, pause if you need more time. If not, here we go. The knight is going to jump up here, delivering a check, forcing the king into the corner. And then we can sacrifice a rook temporarily, and then after rook is captured, our other rook will deliver a back rank mate. So check. Oh, all right. This is a great example of having to look at everything on the board. Work on your board vision. I overlooked the pin here. So the knight is pinning. So now we will have to play our moves in a different order. And that's something to definitely keep an eye on when you're trying to solve tactics over the board. Sometimes you have to move in a different order. So instead of moving the knight first, which we can't do, we're going to have to move the rook first. And then after rook captures, then the knight will be able to force the king into the corner, and our other rook can mate. All right, so the order is just a little bit different. So check, check, and back rank mate. All right, I hope you learned from that. And this is another good reason to practice solving puzzles regularly, because you'll learn how to prevent little oversights like that. I didn't look at everything. I kind of just jumped into the answer quickly and played in the wrong order. All right, we have two more problems. I think that's what I'll do for the rest of the day. Just finish out an even 10. All right, what are we going to do here? Queen is doing what? All right, we don't really have any threats other than here with a check, but our queen is covering that for the moment. So there might be a possibility of an attack on the queen, and then piling up on this pawn. Also, the queen is guarding this to prevent check. Knight is covering that, so our checks are limited with our queen here. All right, take a look at this. See if you can figure it out. Checks, captures, and threats. You should work in that order. Look for any unprotected pieces, but first we'll look at checks. Are there any checks that would really help us? The rook could capture, but then that would force the queen to capture. And then we grab that, delivering a check. So that's one possibility, is to deliver a check here. Another possibility is to deliver a check here, and we have a fork tactic. We could pick off this rook. So that is a possible way to go. But checks are the most forcing, so maybe we should take a look at that. If we capture, the king could run. And the only place the king could run to would be here on e7. So what do we do then? Well, then we could check the king again. We start chasing that king. So we have to decide, do we want to go after the king or do we just want to immediately check and fork and take the rook? So we need to look at the follow-up. If we go here, checking the king, well then what? King will have to move. We can pick off this rook. We have to look at what threats we have against our own king. You know, maybe capture here. But then our king can just move. All right, so it looks like a toss-up. You know, maybe we could go after a check here. Maybe take another look at that. You always want to double check any attacks on the king because maybe it'll lead to a mate. So if we check, the only place the king, if the rook would block, well then we just deliver a mate with the queen here. So if we capture, you know, is he forced to give up his queen? You know, here, that doesn't look good. So capture, the king will be forced to go here. It's the only thing he can do. And then, what do? Well, we could check again with the rook here. But the king could start running. Alright, well, to keep the video from dragging out too long, I'm just going to go for the fork. Okay, they don't want that, so they probably wanted that move. And now, why is the queen forced to capture? See, now we just grab a queen. So the question is, why, after this move, oh, see, why is it doing that? Let me go back here. After rook takes d5, what if they run here? Well, then it looks like, what is best? Queen to c5. We have that fork. King where? Back up to e8. And then queen to c8 is best. So yeah, this is tricky stuff here. King, what? Back down to e7. Then we have rook to e5 check. King over to f7. But then the rook can capture. Yeah, so you just start chasing the king. Another good example of how you definitely want to double check any checks against the kings. All right, final problem. Here we go. Knight has jumped forward. What do we do here? Okay, look for those checks first. All right, if you did that, hopefully you'll be able to solve this problem. Okay, pause if you need more time. If not, here we go. The final problem. We have a queen cutting off the king's escape. If only we could get a check in. Well, if you use your board vision and look at the entire board, you'll see that there is a check possible by this bishop. Here, knight could block, but we just capture. Then rook could block, but then our queen will be able to capture and deliver a mate. All right, here we go. Check, capture with check, and queen mates here. So great pattern of bishop working with the queen, cutting off the king's escape, and of course this bishop prevents the king from running. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed those 10 problems, and I encourage you to solve puzzles regularly to try and improve your tactical ability, your recognition of chess patterns, and then you'll see them more often in your own games. So feel free to leave any comments. Like and subscribe to support the channel if you haven't already. Thank you for watching and have a super chess day.